The time is running out for crypto and retail investors. Coinbase says the shift to blockchain is happening right now, not in the distant future. We're going to talk about all of these clips and how XRP is going to play some of the biggest roles in the future infrastructure of our new financial system. It's feeling hot. It's Sunday. Please like, share, comment. That's how we get this in front of more people. I greatly appreciate you. Let's dive right in.
Another thing that's already happened, and most people haven't registered, is that notwithstanding any headlines that come out of the corporate office at JPMorgan, they're an incredible firm that's doing incredible things. And so one of those things is that JPMD, which is a JPMorgan deposit, which represents a dollar in a JPMorgan account, okay? They've actually put that on a public blockchain, not a private one, controlled by JPMorgan. And they've allowed customers to actually, their clients, to actually transfer JPMorgan deposits in between themselves. Okay. So what's important about this is a couple things. The crypto infrastructure now can transfer 1 cent in 1 second anywhere in the world. So just think about the world we live in now. We already heard about capital controls. We have all sorts of different things. And I won't go through the whole what exists today in terms of how long it takes for a payment to get from X to Y. But in today's world, right now, I'm helping facilitate things like the purchase of crude oil that can transfer across borders instantaneously enabled by stablecoins. That's already happened. Okay. Another thing that already happened, again through JPMorgan, was that we had an issuance of corporate debt. It happened in Abu Dhabi. It happened with Galaxy, who happens to be another crypto firm. They issued corporate debt. Coinbase, along with others, bought some of the debt. We put it in our treasury portfolio. We custodied the asset. And very interestingly, to facilitate all this, you had to pick a blockchain. Again, JPMorgan, in this case, selected Solana, not operated by JPMorgan. And to settle the trade, we used the stablecoin, USDC. So I'm trying to help you put together the world that you see around you. You had Larry Fink say, everything's going to be tokenized. You've had the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, others say, everything's going to be tokenized, and you're waiting for it to happen. I'm telling you it's happening. It's happening right here and now. So you don't need to look that far into a crystal ball to actually appreciate how quickly your world is being disrupted. Last example. I won't say who, but I'll give you a hint. In the top 5 payment providers in the world, okay? And you probably won't guess. I don't want to lead you to a guess, but not exactly what you would say at the forefront of technology, okay? This firm's decided that their entire payment system globally, one of the biggest top 20 banks in the world that facilitates payments, is going to more quickly adopt blockchain technology to facilitate those payments in order to keep their corporate clients and their retail clients and make life good, fast, easy, efficient, and keep their business and continue banking. This is in the process of happening. So you don't really need to look very far in this world to understand that the ground underneath your feet is changing, and it's changing really fast. So this is the year, that finally, I've been talking about payments since I joined Coinbase 6 years ago, but now we actually have the infrastructure. I told you we were externalizing that when Amazon went to AWS and offered their services. We're doing the same. And this is the moment, this is the year that so many of your businesses are going to start seeing giant changes in your revenue mix, your ability to retain clients, because those that adopt this technology first for their core businesses are going to be the long-term successors.
Those who adopted technology first will be the long-term successors. That is the whole shift right now. The financial institutions and banks that haven't really had a crypto strategy, they're saying, oh shit, we are about to get stomped on. Remember, they all have clients, and to keep those clients happy, you need new technology. And what's the new technology? It's blockchain, it's XRP, it's Ethereum, it's Solana. That is the future of the financial system. There's gonna be private networks, but you're gonna need the liquidity of these public chains to move value between them. You're gonna need Chainlink to update data across legacy and blockchain systems. It's all vitally important, and you have a limited amount of time to make those moves before it's all said and done. You know, people who get to a technology early before it's adopted by the entire globe of 8 billion people are the ones who are going to see the most significant gains in the future. We don't know how it's all going to play out, but that's the great thing. You do the research, you pre-plan, you take a leap of faith, and we are going to, hopefully get there sooner or rather than later. And it's just an honor to spend this time with you, go through this information, be a part of the XRP community. These, you're my people. I love it. All right, let's continue this. Wall Street just settled its first treasury on the XRP ledger. It's officially over. Tell me more about this.
So we had JPMorgan just settle a US Treasury bond on the XRP blockchain in under 5 seconds. JPMorgan just settled a Treasury bond. Yes, I said it, on the blockchain, specifically XRP's blockchain, in under 5 seconds. Yep. And Goldman Sachs executive is the one who pressed the button. Listen to this timeline because it's absolutely insane. April 28, 2026, Oliver Harris, a senior digital asset executive at Goldman Sachs, gets hired by JPMorgan to run Connexes. JPMorgan's basically blockchain platform. 8 days later, May 6, 2026, JPMorgan, MasterCard, Ondo Finance, and Ripple complete the first cross-border, cross-bank redemption of tokenized US Treasuries in human history, settled on XRP Ledger in under 5 seconds. Outside banking hours specifically, with JP Morgan's wiring the dollar leg to Ripple's bank account in Singapore. You don't pull a Goldman Sachs digital assets executive to a JP Morgan platform that's already processing over 5 billion a day in transactions and then ship the trade of the decade 8 days later, unless that trade was queued up months in advance, right? That's not coincidence, okay? That's a plan. The Great Migration is here. The world's biggest financial giants in the world just told you crypto is the next chapter of finance. Let me put this in plain English, okay? Tokenized US Treasury means a real treasury bill with a digital wrapper around it that lets all of that move on the blockchain. Cross-border means it left the US and landed in Singapore. Cross-bank means JP Morgan was on the side and Ripple was on the other. 5 seconds means the legacy version of this trade takes 1 to 3 business days. It took blockchain 5 seconds. And the public blockchain they chose to ship it on wasn't Ethereum, it wasn't Solana, it was XRP. The chain 99% of finance Twitter wrote off as a complete scam. Here's why nobody in the CNBC is connecting the dots. The Goldman to JP Morgan hire happened on Tuesday. The trade happened the following Tuesday. The Senate Banking Committee announced the Clarity Act markup the same week. The DTCC announced its own tokenization service launching later this year, all within 10 days. This is just not a switch. This is a massive launch. The Bank for International Settlements has been trying to build this exact architecture for 2 years through Project Agora. The central banks of England, Japan, Korea, France, Switzerland, Mexico, plus the New York Fed, they're all still in the prototype phase. A public blockchain just shipped the first production version ever. An ex-Goldman Sachs guy basically pressed the button 8 days into his new job. If you're still arguing whether XRP is a security in 2026, you missed the boat. The plumbing just got welded last week. Please position accordingly.
Please position accordingly. That was the best part. I mean, we have the information. When you put it all like that, it starts to make more sense to you, right? Are you getting it now? Are you understanding that we are entering a new phase and the XRP ledger is being tested by the largest financial institutions and central banks on the planet? What else do you need at this point? All right, let's continue here. This is Ripple's ex-senior vice president says Aviva plus XRPL could unlock trillions from a quadrillion-dollar market system. Let me go.
Yeah, so Aviva investors, they're looking to tokenize their fund products on the XRP ledger. How much demand do you think is out there for this sort of thing?
So look, I think overarchingly, we're just about, kind of like at the entrance stage of a new paradigm shift, I think, that will really unlock not only, a few $1 billion of demand that we have been seeing around money market products, being put on blockchains, but really trillions, essentially, as you probably all know. If you talk about traditional financial markets, capital markets, it's not only, I think, something like $1 quadrillion of total financial assets that exist in the world, but it's actually trillions of dollars of economic activity that happen today. And so I think really moving from crypto as being more of like a market into becoming sort of like a backbone to the financial infrastructure through this notion of, blockchain technology. And so we're starting to see the early signs, and this is definitely one of the proof points.
We're starting to see the early signs, and this is one of the proof points. Now, we did have this letter. I brought this up in another video. I'm not sure which video you're going to get first. It is Sunday morning, so, I made 2 Saturday night for you. Alexis Surakia, an early market maker for XRP and Ethereum, and now the leader of Yellow, recently said that the XRP ledger is evolving into tokenization and a settlement layer designed for institutional finance. Competition is also intensifying across the broader digital settlement market. Stablecoin networks, bank-led payment systems, tokenization platforms, and central bank digital currency initiatives are all attempting to establish themselves as the foundational infrastructure for digital finance. Even so, the XRP discussion highlights a larger structural shift underway in crypto markets. Increasingly, the central question is no longer simply which token may rise in price, but which networks can integrate into real institutional financial flows. And we know the XRP ledger is well positioned because of all of the work Ripple and all of the developers building the XRP ledger have done. Now, you're talking about institutional demand for XRP. Goldman Sachs, one of the largest institutions, owner of 154 million XRP. Goldman Sachs and Ripple Prime, $154 million in XRP, excuse me. Goldman Sachs and Ripple Prime are both DTCC tokenization service participants. Goldman Sachs is a Ripple Treasury banking partner integrated into GS Mosaic institutional liquidity and investment platform. So he's highlighting here what Chad put out. This is how much Goldman Sachs has and where it is spread out. I like how they went to Bitwise, Franklin Templeton, Grayscale, and 21 shares, really supporting the entire industry of spot ETF markets, 4 out of the 7. Now, here is that clear gateway to help you better understand this. Ripple's Clear Connect Gateway integrates with Goldman Sachs Mosaic platform directly into Ripple Treasury dashboard, the platform with over 400 billion assets under management across 25 fund managers. The reason Ripple Treasury is so important, imagine you are a corporation and you have business all over the world. And because you have business all over the world, you have employees all over the world, and you have to make payments all over the world. That requires you to have a bank account in each one of those countries that you are doing business in. Hard to keep track of. Remember when you have maybe like 1 or 2 bank accounts, you have to go in between apps and in between credit cards to check this and that. It's a lot of work. Imagine you having 50 bank accounts, 100 bank accounts, 200 bank accounts. You understand what I'm talking about here. There are some corporations like American Airlines that has over 150 bank accounts. You can overview where all of your money is. Every bank account is all connected through Ripple Treasury. Imagine being able to see all of that information in one place. That is what is allowing these CFOs to do using Ripple technology. And now you embed XRP and RLUSD. So if they want to move money anywhere in the world, they can do that now in 3 to 5 seconds using the best digital asset on the planet. And so this is just connecting and getting the infrastructure locked in. So when the move is to be made, it'll be made pretty quickly. And I thought this was great. Once the Clarity Act officially comes into force, the initiation of the first institutional XRP transfers from bank transactions will require an integration and testing period of approximately 2 to 3 months, within a maximum of 90 days from the effective date of the new law, witnessing the start of the first large-scale commercial bank transfers, live XRP transfers, and the most realistic expectation for financial markets. Ripple says that it's about 2 to 3 month basis from start to finish. In some cases, we've seen it as fast as 3 weeks. This is actually you making a phone call and saying, Ripple, help me. I need blockchain infrastructure. They say, okay, how big is the problem that we are going to solve for you? Is it massive? Well, that might take a little bit longer, 2 to 3 months. If it's a lot smaller, they can get it done as easy as a few weeks, right? Usually, normally upgrading a bank's financial infrastructure could take years, but Ripple has cut through the red tape and how fast that is, and they can do it pretty quickly.
Which I think should be quite comfortable for you. How long is the implementation process to get started with Ripple?
Yeah, so typically we look at about a 2 to 3 month basis from start to finish. A lot of that is part of the onboarding process. So we go through a credit review process. We then have an onboarding process. That's relatively straightforward. In terms of the technical integration side, it can take between, I'd say, probably 1 to 2 months. That includes things like testing, integrating into the system, and just general process. I think the fastest one I've ever done was probably a 3-week implementation, which was very fast, and probably the slower ones hit that sort of 3 month mark. But it's as fast as you can put resources into making it happen, and we're here to support that.
Okay, well,
once the Clarity Act gets signed into law, every bank, every financial institution, every custody provider, every corporation has to have a crypto strategy. They have to have blockchain infrastructure. And if they haven't been working on it already, it'll take years to develop your own. And do you want to take on all of that risk? You have to leapfrog and jump in front of everybody else that's all going to be competing at the same exact time. The big players, JPMorgan, Citi, HSBC, they've been working on this for over a decade. Right? Everyone else, they're going to have to rush to get it done, because if you don't, your customers are going to leave you. It's simple. They want the newest and best technology. Who doesn't? You're going to be paying the same fees, right? Either way, don't you want to be able to move money instantaneously for cheaper? If that bank is now offering that, that could really help my business, right? I could get paid right away. Absolutely. They're going to rush over to the bank or financial institution or company giving them the newest technology, the best and the brightest. That is Ripple. That is XRP. That is the XRP army. All right, now let me show you this because I almost forgot about it. RLUSD uses XRP to add liquidity. David Schwartz, liquidity tends to correlate with price. And the more liquid XRP is, the more efficient the corridors we can target. A higher price liquidity also means we can target higher value payments. XRP plays a security functions and assists with liquidity providing on the network. Over time, the Ripple protocol becomes widely adopted. Demand for XRP may increase, leading to an increase in price. RLUSD will impact the price of XRP by adding liquidity to the network. This is all building into something. We're almost there. Keep learning, keep growing, and we're gonna get there together, guys. I'll leave you there. Have a good Sunday. Have a good week ahead. Hope you kill it. All right. Aloha.